because today is Wednesday, and that means it is a Chip Patterson day. So we start with my friend, CBSSports.com, Cover 3 podcast moderator. Vibe check, Game 5 tonight. Don't you dare.
It would be so different if there wasn't just so much relief and encouragement. You know, like you wish Game 4 was Game 1, right? But That's a lot better feeling than where we could have been. The vibe check in the moment, as you and I are speaking on this unprecedented statewide platform, 1:01 p.m. Eastern time, as I'm looking at my clock. I would have loved to hear that the trio, Mikala and Greer and Reinhardt, would love to have heard that they're not playing again, Adam. You know, so vibe in the moment. Just saw the update recently that they are going to be back in the lineup.
Yes.
That is undeniably makes the task more difficult, but I believe. I'm excited, and I believe, and I'm glad that no matter what happens here in Game 5, that Game 4 happened, because it changes the mental state, I think, of myself and a lot of other Hurricanes fans. To go into the offseason with existential crisis, existential dread, blow everything up, nothing is working, every nightmare happens over and over again, to not have that is at least a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, and I look forward to Lenovo Center tonight showing out. And look, I don't request a lot from fans because I don't think you should. I believe that fans should be there at the start, and I think they will. But I think it is beholden upon the players to provide fans with the fuel to give it back to them. To me, it's not a one-way street. It's two ways.
Are you concerned about the vibe right now?
No, I'm not. No, I'm definitely not concerned about the vibe.
I think the fans are going to be great.
Yeah, no, but here's what I want. Here's my fear, because I see it. What happens if Carolina gives up the first goal? Right? The players are not going to give up.
Well, there's also a difference between. So I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to be in the building for Game 1. Game 1, you go down 2-0 really, really fast. Didn't feel like anyone had given up, especially after Sebastian Aho was able to be awarded for a goal. Right. He didn't score a goal. He was awarded for a goal right before the intermission. That's different than Game 2 going down 3-0 right off the rip and just showing no life. So I think that the building is smart enough that what's the big buzzword coming out of it? Playing on your toes.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that. Yes.
Yes, yeah. As long as the Canes are playing on their toes, I hope that the building stays till the end, regardless of what happens in terms of the outcome.
That's what I'm looking for. That's why I'm asking for unconditional love and support tonight.
Right. Yes. We're not asking for much, just unconditional love.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was in the building when they lost Game 4 to the Devils in 2001. And to me, that was the night that I realized that the fan base would work, because they got pumped.
They stayed for handshakes.
Yeah.
They stayed for handshakes and for one last clap. One
last salute, right? No,
one last salute, for sure.
I think Carolina's got this tonight. And we'll have a game on Friday. Mostly because they want to make my life as busy as possible, and I'm happy about that.
I told you the mistake. No, I told you the mistake was. By the way, we will need to make arrangements for next week. But I told you the mistake was me trying to figure out my trips back from the beach for Stanley Cup games.
That's right.
That was my mistake. I should never.
It's still valid.
My skis. I know.
No, it's still valid. Don't like blame yourself for anything. It's still valid. Jordan Stahl said it after Game 3, and I love the way he said it. Because Game 3 was there for Carolina.
Right there.
It's a 1-1 game. You kill a penalty, and all of a sudden it just and actually, even after the 2-1 goal, Carolina had the next 2 or 3 good scoring chances. Just didn't bury them. Jordan Stahl said they got to win 4. And he was just very matter of fact. They got to win 4. And look, I don't think anybody is expecting the Hurricanes to win 4 in a row against that team. But they don't really have to win 4 in a row. They just have to win tonight.
Yep.
And then we'll come back and we'll figure out what's going to happen on Friday. But they just have to win tonight. In some ways, it simplifies things. So let me simplify this.
Hold on, one last thing. And you tell me, because I'm not going to be as dialed into whether this is an overreaction to results. But obviously, the one that stands out is Stanley Cup final against Edmonton. But even in Tampa and definitely in Toronto, there was at least a game in each series that Florida could have had. It's just, is it just this team does have trouble putting teams away?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they did last year with the Oilers.
Right.
They lost Game 4 8-1 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and then they came back, had an opportunity to end it, and couldn't do it. So
they had the opportunity to get past Toronto in 6.
Couldn't do it.
At home,
right?
Couldn't do it.
And they, I think they lost Game 3 to Tampa, but won Game 4 on home ice. They have not been. They have been better on the road, right? They have lost 3 games at home and just 2 on the road in the playoffs. And Florida hasn't had home ice advantage in any series yet. Florida's been the road team to play games 1 and 2 in every series.
They were the Atlantic 3 to the 2 Tampa. Wow.
Correct. Toronto won that division, and Carolina had more points than Florida during the regular season. So, I mean, they're in a position where they're as comfortable as any team I have seen in recent memory on the road. They really are. It's I've thought for a long time they were the best team. You knew you were going to have to deal with them at some point. In a lot of ways, I was hoping Tampa would take them out in round 1, and Florida just put their foot on Tampa's neck right away. We'll see what happens tonight. I think we'll have another game. I think we'll have a Game 6 and make Florida serve it out, which is what you're supposed to do. I love using different sports as analogies.
Especially
them serve it
Roland
out.
Garros.
Look at that. And American Taylor Fritz, the 4 seed, which shocked me that I heard he was the 4 seed, losing the first round. All right, let me get to this. The SEC meetings are in Destin, Florida right now, and you'll have to interpret why Scott Strickland, the athletic director at Florida, would say something that is so patently false. Where he said he's not crazy about a committee for football because we don't have enough data points. He thinks with few data points, we shouldn't have a committee. It's not the best way to select a field. He thinks in other sports with a lot more data points, then you could have a committee. Isn't it the opposite?
So what's interesting, if we're to just blow right through Scott Strickland saying, hold on, because let me build on to what you just pointed out. He said there's not enough data points in the same press availability that he said, well, SEC has the best strength of schedule. Look at all the data points. So the data matters until it doesn't matter. It matters as long as it's talking about SEC strength of schedule. Look at all the data points. But then also that same data set, the exact same data set of results, just not enough to be able to choose 12, 14, 16 teams to go and compete. Yeah. So the thing, again, now let's blow right through it. Let's take a train and just blast through this tunnel, because what I had a lot of fun with, because last year was the first year of the 12-team playoff. First year that we have really had to matter the difference between 7, 8, 9, 10. When I contend that those early committees only cared about your top 4, 5, and 6, and didn't even really have to do anything else other than reverse engineer their top 4, 5, or 6. This mattered. You had to make some hard rankings decisions. And all year long, they were lining up the committee rankings with what the BCS computers would have done. And dadgummit, at the end of the season, you go and you look at that top 13, 14, no team is off by more than 2 spots.
Right.
And I think only one team is off by more than 2 spots. Everything else is either right in line or 1 spot off. So committee, BCS formula, but sure, The BCS formula had computer ratings and human opinion with the polls. And do you know what happens inside that committee room? They are fed computer ratings, and then they've got their human opinion.
Right.
It is literally the embodiment of the BCS formula with this selection committee. So Scott, you and all the ADs around here are clearly moving in lockstep. You got your talking points, and everybody came out with the blitz. I understand the politicking that is happening right now. I don't think the argument is coming from a genuine place.
No, it's just so funny to me because with less data, like I need human beings who can sort through all of it. With more data, I mean, I could argue I don't. That we can just plug things into a computer and it'd spit out the proper field. But we don't have more data points. We only have 13 or maybe 12, depending on only 5 teams, right? No, actually more than 5 teams likely have 13 because you'll have the losers in some of the championship games. But holy cow, it was just so disingenuous to me. And it does speak to, how the SEC and the Big Ten, because it's not just the SEC, want to engineer the 16-team playoff to guarantee them more spots. But to that end, did Greg Sankey not say yesterday that, we're really looking at a 5+11 model, the 5 conference champions, and then 11 at-large teams? And I'm like, what took you so long to get to where you should have been in the first place?
Okay. That is not how I understand the situation.
Okay.
I think and I could be wrong on this, Please ask Jim Phillips, PhD, to give me a call if I am off. But I thought that the ACC and the Big 12 are moving in lockstep, suggesting a 5+11 model, that what they are getting in response is the SEC and the Big 10, and in particular the SEC, wanting those guaranteed spots, wanting the 4-4-2. Hold on. 4-4-2-2,
right.
1-3 in a 16-team model, 4-4-2-2-1-1 in a 14-team model. That the idea is, well, in the 5+11, we don't get to have this grand competition for our spots because they're already thinking about conference championship weekend, something that they control and that they want to drum up into this grand jamboree. And so they think if we've got these spots, we take our top 6 teams and we create a battle for the champion, a 3 and a 6, a 4 and a 5, a ladder challenge to be able to make it into the college football playoff, a play into the playoff, that would be a new revenue stream that isn't there right now. That 5+11 in the SEC, which would be regularly getting 4 teams in, if
or
not
more.
Much more, that the conference championship is meaningless. That there's not a 5+11 model where guaranteeing the 1 seed or guaranteeing a top 2 seed would be enticing enough to give the real meaning to that weekend. So my understanding is 5+11, number one, not my understanding, my opinion. I think 5+11 is easy to sell. I think 5+11 is easy to explain. I think 5+11 is fine. We'll line them all up in a bracket. We're not doing fast pass buys. We're not doing anything weird. We're doing a simple 16-team bracket the way that our simple minds can do with the quadrants and the seeds. We understand it all. Sure, 5+11 makes sense. But I think that the more we complicate it, the harder it's going to be to explain to sports fans who are not really, really into college football. And that's a missed opportunity for being able to promote the sport.
Yeah, I just think it's, to me, and like I was looking up the quote, and let me just read the quote from Sankey. This is Greg Sankey at the end of yesterday's sessions. They talked about, I'll call it a 5+11 model, and our own ability to earn those berths, which I've been talking about for a long time. At the coaching level, the question is, why wouldn't that be fine? Because coaches all think that they're good. Why wouldn't we do that? We talked about 16 with them, so good conversation, not a destination, but the first time I've had the ability to really go really in-depth with that idea with them. I think at the administrative level, they want the assurance that they're going to get 4. But at the
they want
coaching,
guaranteed revenue.
right?
The coaches are much more into the competitiveness because look, 5+11 it could mean more SEC teams in.
What do you mean
Because
could? I don't think there's a way it won't.
I mean, when we talk about, we had a great conversation this morning on the Cover 3 podcast where what we've got between the Big Ten and the SEC is that the Big Ten isn't complaining a lot because the Big Ten has a very, very good top tier.
Yeah.
But teams 6 through 12 know where they sit in the national college football landscape. And teams 6 through 12 would love to be playing in Jacksonville on New Year's Day.
Right.
Like the Citrus Bowl would be a fantastic thing for our alumni. Go and spend New Year's in Jacksonville. They've got great activities, great things to do. That's fine for us. The Citrus Bowl tier. Teams 6 through 12 in the SEC expect to be competing for national championships. You're talking about places like Oklahoma, places like Florida, places that didn't win championships in the 1930s like Minnesota did, places that have won national championships in the 21st century. And so that group is louder about their opportunity, their access to compete for the national championship. The teams at the top of the Big Ten that expect to compete for national championships, it's only about 4, 5, depending on where USC sits and how it values football in any given year. So I think that's why the Big Ten is like 4, sure. 5+11, sure. Because if all of our teams have it running, we'll have a good representation. SEC is being loud about it because mathematically they are always going to have teams left out that feel like they should be in.
I mean, if I were looking at it from an SEC perspective, I would never agree to get 4 guaranteed spots ever, because I'm giving the Big Ten is getting them too.
But they want to leave the option, so they could even a 4 guaranteed spots. You could still see a situation where they get 6 in a 16-team field that has 3 at-larges instead of a 14-team field that has 1.
Yeah, I could, but
you could.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I can't imagine a scenario where the SEC ever had in 16 teams less than 4. I don't see that happening.
In 16 teams, they will never. Yeah, in 16 teams, they won't have less than 4.
If I were the SEC, I would never agree to it. I wouldn't do it.
So Sankey has been presented with 5+11. He took 5+11 to his coaches, according to that quote you just said. He also submitted the data analysis that they ran where 5+11 would have benefited the SEC just even more than other models when you retrofit it to previous rankings in the college football playoff.
I mean, look, I'd love to see the college football landscape care about the whole landscape. I'd love to see that, but I'm not dumb. I know they're not. I know they don't. I know Greg Sankey doesn't give a rat's rear end about college football as a whole. He only cares about SEC football. They can say what they want. They've proven it over and over and over again.
Hey, and to which I know that you're not going to like this preface, but to be fair to Greg Sankey, he is also, like a lot of these positions, he is doing the work of his bosses.
Oh no, I totally understand it. I get what he's doing.
Yeah, you come out with selfish motives because you've got 16 university presidents that are going to, determine whether or not you continue to be in this position of power. And so you are ultimately, speaking with their interests at top of mind. This is not alone something where it's your vision that you just happen to be the one that is that's driving it.
Yeah, it's not his job to care about the whole. It's his job to care about those 16 schools. That's it. I get it. So in that regard, I understand where Greg Sankey comes from. But it would be great if somebody in that position said, yeah, this is great for us, but us doesn't dominate if it's just us. And I think we're headed for a just us. Like he was essentially given a mandate by enough administrators, whether it's presidents or whatever, to separate from the NCAA. And I'm like,
no. Hold on. All right, let's
do.
I've got more context on that one too.
Okay.
What that part of it was awesome. I actually think that it might have been one of my favorite things to come out of Destin because it was very much just like, you're kind of working the mic. You're just sitting there like, you wouldn't believe the kind of stuff. Like I got Guys,
Right.
you wouldn't believe this. I got one AD in there, and he's out here saying, what do we even need with the NCAA, right? Crazy. I mean, it's just him holding court, and he just lobs that one out there because he's like, oh, buddy, they are going to eat this up. Now, is there an athletic director, especially among those personalities, who at some point in Destin, Florida, might just kick back and be like, I mean, why do we even need the NCAA? Yes, I could believe multiple athletic directors in that room just sort of throwing that one out there. His choice to bring that to the microphone, I think, is just flooding the zone, baby. Let's just throw all this stuff out there. I mean, it was an overwhelming. That's not even to talk. We haven't even talked about 8-game versus 9-game conference schedule.
Right.
They tried to come at Kirby Smart talking about the college football playoff. He's like, well, before we talk about the playoff, we need to decide about the transfer portal. I mean, is it 1? Is it 2? And when is it? Okay, I won't talk about no playoff until we fix the transfer portal. I mean, the amount of just fodder and talking points that have been coming out of this, it's robust, I think.
You are robust, Chip Patterson. I appreciate your time. We'll talk next week when we get ready for the finals.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.